Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal reviewing Wellbutrin, as I've now been using it now for 10 years, but I've been using it on and off. I've been using it consistently since 2018, but I was first actually exposed to it and on it for a couple of years in 2013. So a lot of people actually use Wellbutrin as an antidepressant that would not have some of the really negative side effects out there that other antidepressants had, such as weight gain or hair loss. I had given a few other antidepressants a shot, but I looked into Wellbutrin, and under my general practitioner's discretion, they thought it could be a good fit, and it really has been. But I can share with you at this point, I really don't know if I would even call it an antidepressant, because it more so boosts energy levels and actually helps with productivity. So our traditional antidepressants are SSRIs, and Wellbutrin is not, and they manipulate the way in which your brain uses serotonin, whereas Wellbutrin doesn't necessarily act on the serotonin neurotransmitter itself, which is why it's very interesting that with Wellbutrin, it's very energizing. So first thing that you should know is that there are two variations of Wellbutrin. There is the SR, which is the short release, and then there's the XL, which is the extended release, and I have experience using both of them. Now, I personally prefer using the XL, and that's because it feels a lot smoother. I feel like it's better for productivity, whereas with the SR, just like you would expect it to, it hits you very quickly and it does elevate your heart rate. And I didn't really feel like myself when I was using the SR versus the XL. I felt like myself just a little bit more energetic, perhaps a little bit less anxiety. And I would summarize the benefits of Wellbutrin being better energy levels, better levels of motivation, less overthinking or procrastination, and definitely less worrying. Let's face it, when we aren't in our best state, we tend to worry a lot about the future. Whereas with Wellbutrin, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what's happening. I think it just makes you overthink less because of the fact that you have more energy and more motivation to actually go and execute on some of those tasks that maybe you've been procrastinating a little bit about. Although these are the benefits, they may not hit you immediately. So with some people, they have to use Wellbutrin for a few weeks in order for them to get the expected benefit. For me, what it looked like was when I first started taking it, I definitely felt the energy boost, but it wasn't until a few weeks afterwards of daily use that I started to notice some of the mood benefits. And keep in mind, I was initially not even using this for energy or motivation. I was using it just to improve my mood and help me better think. And that's similar with the SR and the XL form. You do have to take them both for a few weeks in order for you to really feel the benefits working on all cylinders. And I feel that taking Wellbutrin, it's been an absolute game changer for me. And I feel that way because with Wellbutrin, I've still been able to be very productive. I feel like myself. I feel more creative. I don't feel like it's restricting my abilities in any sort of way. Whereas with other individuals that are taking some sort of antidepressant, they often report that they feel like they can only grow so much or they can only be so productive. It's like they've taken a hit in their productivity as a result of using their antidepressant, or they've even gained weight, which is worse. It does feel somewhat stimulatory. I wouldn't take Wellbutrin close to bed because it is a little bit like caffeine in the sense of, like, with caffeine, you feel energetic, you feel a little bit more stimulated, but then that comes with the cost, which is going to be a little bit more anxiety. But it's a question of, okay, sure, I'm getting this motivation and this energy boost, so maybe it's compromising for the fact that it comes about with a little bit of anxiety. Most people, and the way that it's recommended to take, is to take it every single day, though I have a practice where I'm taking it 5 days out of 7 because, truth be told, I don't really need an antidepressant anymore, but I like the energy boost that comes along with Wellbutrin. The way that I'm taking it is taking 150 milligrams once a day. I'm taking it in the morning, somewhere about 30 to 60 minutes after waking up, and then I notice this kind of a slow energy boost that comes about with it. But common serving sizes are usually like 300 milligrams of the XL form or 150 milligrams of the SR form taken twice a day, not taking them just once. And it's only been within the past couple of years that I've dropped down from 300 milligrams to 150 milligrams, and I've still really not noticed much of a difference. It didn't really seem like there was any need to take 300 milligrams in the first place. Like, maybe I was getting a slight energy and motivation boost, but it's not much of a difference compared to the 150. But the very first time I took Wellbutrin back in 2013, it did make me a little bit nervous in that my heart rate was elevated. I felt a little bit too stimulated, like a feeling like I wasn't used to, because with caffeine, typically you'll take it, you'll feel energized and stimulated for a few hours. Wellbutrin, it's not all that strong, but simple things like you wanting to stand versus sit, that happens a lot when you're using Wellbutrin, and I noticed it. It felt a little bit uncomfortable the first week, but after a few weeks of using Wellbutrin, I felt calmer, like this nice, calm, focused, productive energy. And the main reason for the reduction in the daily dosage of 300 milligrams to 150 milligrams is because the fact, like, we just never know whether or not Wellbutrin is truly safe long term. We don't have research that conclude that. We just have short term research, and there is some talk about needing more choline supplementation when you're using Wellbutrin. So I've been using alpha GPC as a choline supplement, but I don't want to have to continuously take more alpha GPC or more choline than I need to because of the potential risk of stroke. And when I'm using Wellbutrin and I'm supplementing as well with choline, I can feel it working a lot better versus not supplementing with choline. I feel like I just get tired a little bit easier. With anything that you're going to ingest, I mean, the stronger it is, the more side effects are going to be associated with it. That's been my experience. And with Wellbutrin, given that I don't really notice the side effects short term, I don't want to think that I can continuously use it and not have negative consequences long term. So my goal is to slowly get off Wellbutrin. Now I'm taking it 5 days of the week. Maybe I'll eventually reduce it down to 3 to 4 days during the week because I can still notice it working. I also have a thyroid condition, hypothyroidism, so I do use my Wellbutrin along with 50 micrograms of Cytomel, and that's been working fine for me. I haven't had any negative experiences with it, but if you are going to mix Wellbutrin with anything else, definitely do so under the discretion of your general practitioner. Where I do not mix Wellbutrin is with some of the stronger stimulants, being yohimbine especially. Yohimbine uncomfortably does elevate the heart rate and doesn't go well with Wellbutrin, so take those two separately. And then of course with supplements like modafinil or phenylparastam, those are going to elevate the heart rate as well. They're somewhat stimulatory, so be careful when you're combining those, of course, depending on how you react to Wellbutrin. In this Reddit post here, anyone taking Wellbutrin, how does it affect you in the short term and long term? This comment I can definitely relate to. Somebody mentioned they haven't had any long-term side effects, they can cry at happy things, and that it did help their ADHD in that it helped to remove the darkest thoughts that were always in their head. And they mentioned that they still have libido issues. See, I find that surprising with Wellbutrin. I haven't noticed anything different whatsoever with libido, with testosterone levels. And being in the gym, some people find that it's a bit harder to get to the gym, but from my experience, it's actually been easier because Wellbutrin is somewhat energizing. In fact, if your goal is weight loss, most people notice weight loss more often than weight gain when they're using Wellbutrin, and that's because it can decrease your appetite a little bit. So that's why I look at it kind of like a stimulant in some cases, and that it really has a lot of similarities to other stimulatory supplements out there. I don't personally believe that it's changed my sleep quality any better or any worse. I typically sleep for 7 hours during the day and I haven't found any difference. However, on Reddit, this user mentions that they can usually sleep 7 hours a day, but with Wellbutrin, they can only sleep 4 hours a day. So the solution to that really would just be to lower the dose of the Wellbutrin and consider taking it a little bit earlier. I wouldn't even consider taking this in the second half of the day, but there are some good nootropic supplements out there that can help you to improve your quality of sleep, such as Shodan Ashwagandha, which is a supplement that I take 120 milligrams once a day just right before I sleep, which really helps me out. I've talked more about it in this video right here. Now, can you take Wellbutrin as a nootropic supplement? I mean, I don't recommend that you do, but there's no question that it will help you be more energetic and help you with productivity, but don't really expect it to help you any more in your thinking and your planning skills and some of the cognition skills that you would like to have. I haven't found like Wellbutrin gives me a better memory or helps me with learning or helps me with my verbal fluency. But something that surprised me is that Wellbutrin actually doesn't overpower my other nootropics that I take. I use mushrooms, herbal nootropics, things which can help me with productivity and help me to fight off stress. Unfortunately, I can still feel them working. Whereas unfortunately, when we're looking at meds, they often do overpower other nootropics, which then just makes it a total waste of time and money to get nootropics on top of using them. The other thing which is great is it doesn't matter whether you take it in a fasted state or a fed state, it still is okay to take if you're intermittent fasting. From my experience, I'm somebody that practices intermittent fasting and I have like a 6-hour feeding window at the end of my day, so still using Wellbutrin early on in the day actually gives me somewhat of an advantage. If it acts kind of like coffee and that it energizes me to go about my day. And you'll hear really mixed opinions about whether or not Wellbutrin will actually result in withdrawals, and I'm going to say it will, but just slight withdrawals. Now, I've had really bad withdrawals from some of the ADHD meds out there, specifically Concerta, and it's nowhere comparable to that, but given that this is a pill which is going to energize you, stimulate you, give you a bit of drive, I would expect that if you get off of it, let's say cold turkey, you'll feel the exact opposite, just temporarily, and then it'll have like a 3 to 4 week period where you start to feel like yourself again, so you just have to really have the mindset, the discipline to get through that. And that's the main reason why I stopped taking Wellbutrin during 2 days of the week, because I don't want to get too accustomed to it, but there are some times here and there where I just forget to take my Wellbutrin, and those days, if anything, I notice a little bit of social anxiety, nothing too extreme, but just a general unwillingness to go out and approach people. And how's your experience been with Wellbutrin? Comment below, and if you did get value from this video, consider subscribing, drop a like, and if you want to chat with me one-on-one, you can do so over on Patreon or send me a direct message on Instagram, and be sure to visit our Discord server, which has a 24/7 chat room. We're answering questions in a time-sensitive fashion, having a lot of fun. I thank you for your interest in nootropics, and I look forward to seeing you next time.